Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem. Jane. All eyes are on Israel as the official ceasefire or humanitarian pause came into effect at 7 a.m. this morning. I want to give you an update of the details as we know them at this point. At 7 a.m., the ceasefire came into an effect. The IDF continued their operation all the way up until 7 a.m., carried out more attacks on the terrorist sites inside the Gaza Strip. They were bombing more of the big hospitals also around the Shifa hospital. By the way, the manager of the Shifa hospital was arrested as Israel proved without any shadow of the doubt that the big Shifa hospital was used as a control center, a command center for Hamas, and a lot of terror activities was going on into that hospital, which he knew about. Also stealing electricity from the hospital down into their bunkers. So he was arrested for questioning. So from 7 this morning up until now, things are quiet. There are no attacks in the Gaza Strip. No rockets are being fired from Gaza into Israel. There are no Israeli military activities or drones flying above the Gaza Strip. 50 Israeli hostages are going to be released within the next 4 days. For one Israeli hostage being released, 3 security prisoners are going to be released from Israel. People who have committed terrorist activity here in Israel. So today, 13 women and children will be released at 4 p.m. It has been announced that they would be handed over to the Red Cross, and from Red Cross they would be handed over to the IDF. We don't know if that's going to happen because all of a sudden Hamas was pulling back and they are saying they didn't want to get the Red Cross involved. One of the conditions for Israel to agree to this deal was also that when these hostages has been released, it was a condition that Israel demanded that the Red Cross would be allowed to enter the Gaza Strip and to examine the remaining hostages who has been in captivity for 49 days. Civilians, war crimes against civilians being held hostage by a terrorist organization. Hamas should have allowed the Red Cross to go and visit them and to treat them and see what conditions are they being held in from the beginning. They are not interested in this. So Israel said, well, that's a condition. And now Hamas is pulling back from that, saying we don't want a Red Cross in here at all. We can make an adjustment or assessment of the hostages and we can hand it over to the Red Cross, which Israel is not agreeing to. But 13 women and children will be released today. We will see if they're going to be released to the Red Cross or to the Egyptians, and then they're going to be handed over in one of the border crossings from Egypt into Gaza. From there, they will be received by the Israeli military, and there will be a quick doctor's examination, and if some of them are in any form of serious condition or in bad condition, and a helicopter will take them immediately to the big Soroka hospital. If not, they will be taken to 5 designated hospitals that has been chosen to treat all of these victims or these hostages when they are being released. So that's going to happen at 4 p.m. this afternoon. The families of those 13 people, they got a phone call yesterday saying, according to plan, your children, your wife, your grandchildren are going to be released today. When they come into the hospitals, they are going to be taken care of very, very gently. We don't know what condition they have been living under. We don't know what happened to them, what was done to them. We saw what Hamas did when they attacked Israel on October 7. So they are going to be taken care of very, very gentle. If the women are able to be questioned about security things, they will be, or they will just simply being treated and being welcomed by their families in the hospital. At 4 p.m. when these hostages are being released, Hamas is also going to deliver a list with the name of the 12 people who's going to be released tomorrow. So in total, over 4 days, 50 women and children will be released, and 150 security prisoners will be released here in Israel. We are talking about terrorists. As I reported about earlier, a female terrorist stabbed a Jewish mother in the back right in front of her children. They were out walking in East Jerusalem with her children. All of a sudden she feels a pain in her back, and her son is screaming, "Mom, Mom, there's a knife sticking. There's a knife in your back." So a female terrorist who was living down the street from this Jewish family jacked a big knife in her back, trying to murder her in front of her children. She just received 12 years prison. She's on the list of the 300 people who could be released. For now, 150 is the first, but she's on that list. Another one who's on that list is a female terrorist who only a couple of months ago attacked border police officers with a knife down in East Jerusalem. She's on the list of being freed. It's unbelievable. So while Israel had innocent civilians who was brutally assaulted on October 7th, some of these children watched family members being murdered before they were being dragged into the Gaza Strip, held hostage for 49 days. So while all of these innocent civilians is being freed, Israel has to release terrorists and young people who has been engaged in terror activities. It's unbelievable. On top of that, let me use some notes so I can get it right. On top of that, a lot of fuel is coming in to the Gaza Strip. The IDF said that this morning, 4 tankers of fuel and 4 tankers of cooking gas was transferred from Egypt to UN humanitarian aid organizations in the southern Gaza Strip. This was approved by the government of Israel as part of the pause and the framework for the release of the hostages. The fuel and cooking gas are designated for operating essentials humanitarian infrastructure in the Gaza Strip. Every day there's going to be allowed hundreds of trucks into Gaza with food, with humanitarian aid, with fuels. If Hamas somehow managed to get a hold of this fuel, they could keep their generators in the bunkers going for months. So 50 Israeli hostages being released, 150 terrorists is going to be released, not killing anyone, but some of them tried to kill, are going to be released, and they're going to be released home, sent home, which means the young Jewish family, I read an interview with them, the young Jewish mother who was stabbed in the back by this young female terrorist that might be released now, at least she's on the list. This Jewish family can open the door and walk down the street and stand face to face with a female terrorist who was just handed a 12-year sentence to try and murder this Jewish mother, and she could be released in this deal, and all of a sudden they could be face to face with her. So I want you to understand the price that Israel has to pay for all of this. So it's a very, very, very sensitive time here in Israel. We cannot wait for these hostages to come home. We cannot even begin to fathom what they have been through, what happened to them during captivities. One of them is a 4-year-old girl. She's actually turning 4 years old today. She watched her parent being murdered before she was kidnapped into the Gaza Strip. Let's see if she's going to be released today on her 4-year-old, turning 4 years old today. So it's like I said, it's a sensitive, very sensitive time. It's only 50 out of 236 hostages that is coming out for the first 4 days. Then I heard a report saying that the Israeli cabinet has approved that we could extend this humanitarian pause, this ceasefire, going up to 9 days. And one day, if that's going to happen, in one day, 10 more hostages has to be released. So now we have 4 days, and then that could be extended with 5 more days, and then each day 10 more hostages has to be released. But of course, Israel has to release more security prisoners at the same time, while fuel and food are coming into the Gaza Strip. So of course my heart and prayers are going out to the families who's going to receive their loved one coming home within the next 4 days. Just please pray that everything will go according to plan, that Hamas is not going to change it in the last minute, like they already have done now with the idea that they don't want Red Cross to be involved because they don't want them to come in and see how the rest of the hostages are being held, the conditions they're in, or if they're sick. And by the way, like someone was saying on Israeli TV, we don't even know if they are alive, if all of them are alive. They have already murdered 2 female hostages. So everything, that's why I'm saying all eyes are on Israel right now. So please pray into this whole situation that everything will go according to plan. Also pray for the Israeli soldiers that is in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military went out to the people in Gaza and say, yes, there is a truce right now, or a peace ceasefire, but there is still a war, and the IDF is still present in the Gaza Strip. And the Israeli military and the Israeli government has says this war is going to continue. When this ceasefire is over, we are going to finish what we started, and that is the eradication of Hamas, the brutal terror regime who is right on the doorsteps to Israel. We need to finish them off. So it's dangerous because people who was living in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, who Israel allowed to move to the southern part, get away, we don't want to harm you. Some of them have started actually to go back to the north. They want to go home and see, what's the state of my house. But for the videos coming out, all the people we saw started moving is young men. The Israeli military has said this is a ceasefire, but this is not a time for you to start moving to the north. On the contrary, if there's anybody still in the north, you want to move south, there is still an option for that. But do not try and start moving to the north. Also because many Hamas terrorists laid down their weapon, put on civilian clothes, and they fled to the south. And today these Hamas terrorists are hiding among civilians in plain clothes. So they could be amongst them going to the north. It's a very dangerous situation actually for the soldiers being still in the Gaza Strip. So please pray for them as we are in this humanitarian pause right now. And for such a time as this, we continue to stand with Israel to get as many hostages out as possible. But then we fully stand by Israel's right to continue to defend herself against this evil ISIS Hamas, who has one goal, and that is the annihilation of the Jewish people. Because when there first has been a ceasefire, you are going to see the world and many governments that's going to pressure Israel to, now it's enough, and not really be behind Israel and continuing to eradicate Hamas until they are gone. So it's going to be a very difficult task for the Israeli government or balance to walk out for these coming weeks. But for now, there is a ceasefire for 4 days. They have the mandate to extend it with 5 more days. So in total, 9 days. And if it should be extended after that, the Security Cabinet, the Cabinet have to do another vote. But let's see what happens. And again, in the midst of this, you cannot trust Hamas. They're going to use and abuse this ceasefire. They are going to relocate. They are going to reorganize themselves, move weapons around, moving terrorists around in this time. So this is for their benefit. So pray for Israel at this time. Bye.